Hi, I'm Alan Benner from the Tribune. I'm here with Welland Mayor Frank Campion talking about some of the current events in the city. Frank, welcome.
A pleasure to be here. Lots of current events to discuss, so I'm happy to be here and have the opportunity. Thanks, Alan.
It's certainly been a busy summer for us.
It's been very busy, both business-wise as far as the city goes, event-wise as far as the city goes, and a little bit of recreation at the same time. So it's been very busy.
And just this past weekend, we had a whole bunch of stuff going on.
Yeah, Welland was, well, I guess the region in general, but certainly Welland was very busy. We had the fair, which really happy that that came off. We didn't have a fair going about a month and a half ago, so that was put together in a hurry, and we're really pleased that it came off and it was well attended. So I think it's a very successful event. We had the Barrelman Triathlon down in town, which was about 800 athletes.
Wow.
Swimming and then starting their bike route from Welland. Terry Fox Run was on Sunday, so yeah, it's been a busy weekend. Lots of community activities going on.
Shame about the weather, but I suppose that is par for the course when it's
yeah,
the
kind of interesting that, Alan, because it did pour rain at the fair, and they kind of a combined food fest operation, which was helped us enable us to help pay for part of that. But it was a good venue for it because they had a very large barn set up with tables so people could participate, go inside and have their food without getting drenched.
All right. A few big announcements came by this summer. We had obviously the GE plant is the biggest story we've seen in Welland for many years. We spoke about that previously last time I think we had you on our website. But since then we've had a groundbreaking and work is progressing quickly out there.
Yeah, it's we certainly did talk about it, and it's it's a reality. They're on site building. We're busily preparing and processing building permits, and it's all systems go as far as that goes. We had a fantastic groundbreaking ceremony with various lots of people from GE, which was great, and a whole bunch of politicians. So somebody asked me before that, who are you really hoping will be at this groundbreaking? I said, GE. So, and they were there.
All right. We had provincial funding announced during that groundbreaking as well, but I understand we have also local and regional money is going to be going into this. Is there any, now that we have more of the nuts and bolts about what type of investment we're going to be seeing, can we do the math and kind of figure out what it's going to cost taxpayers as well?
Yeah, well, it's not going to cost the taxpayer anything as far as the municipalities go in the region. We have our economic zone CIPs, so community improvement grants, and what that entails is they'll get about between the two entities, the region and the city of Welland, about just in excess of $30 million in tax break over a 10-year period. And so that doesn't cost the taxpayer any money because it's just simply taxes that aren't coming in. They're still going to pay the base tax, which is what that property was taxed at prior to it being sold. So any improvements on top of the land, those taxes will be put off until that 10-year period. So it's a significant amount of money, and that's how we landed GE. But as I say, it doesn't cost the taxpayer money. It's simply revenue that's not generated at that time. So if GE wasn't there, we were going to be collecting X number of dollars. With GE there, we're still going to collect that X number of dollars. So it's an investment in our future, of course.
Certainly.
And after the 10-year period, we're going to be getting that big balloon payments starting up.
And plus we'll have 200 more jobs at least to...
Yeah, they escalated the number from, initially I think we were talking about 150 jobs, and they've escalated that to 220 now. And I'm expecting that to grow at the same time. I think there's expectation on our side and on the side of GE to do the same thing.
Very good. In addition to the provincial funding announced for GE, we also had recent announcements of federal funding. How is that money going to be spent, and how will the people of Welland benefit?
Yeah, well, the federal government did kick in, but as well as the provincial government. So we did get another grant from the provincial government. It's a three-party grant, so the municipality is putting in $4 million, the province is putting in $4 million, and the feds are putting in $4 million. This is much-needed infrastructure funding for the Elgin, we call it the Elgin Edgar Street area, one of the older areas of town. We're going to be upgrading the sewers, the roads, as well as the water. So at the end of the day, it's going to be obviously much better road surfaces over there and sidewalks, et cetera, which are much needed in a lot of those areas. But also the infrastructure, the stuff that you don't see underground. We'll have less infiltration into our sewage system, which will cut back on our costs to treat at the plant, as well as fewer leaks. It gets expensive when these water lines keep breaking in the winter, so we'll eliminate that and the costs associated with that, and of course the lost water at the same time. So it's a big win for us. There's no way we would ever be able to afford to do that without canceling everything else.
Absolutely. We were talking about the area that's where we had that broken water main where we lost like $500,000 in treated water at one point.
Yeah, that was a good win.
Yeah, going back 3-4 years, I believe, at this time.
Yeah.
But that's the type of thing we're not going to see again, hopefully.
Yeah, well, that was a whole different sort of scenario where the water was actually leaking into the river, so nobody could see the water.
Yeah.
maybe the water in the river was getting a little cleaner.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Okay, we've had a number of people who had sent in some questions for you, and we'll start right into them. A lot was made of the request for interested parties to come forward with a proposal for the downtown canal front lands and the lands between the Seaway Mall and Merritt Road. It's been months and there's been no news. When will we hear about any of these proposals?
Yeah, so essentially we have two proposals on the table. They were generated through, we sent out a request for people to come up to provide us with some ideas of what they wanted to do. We received those quite some time ago. And right now, Council has reviewed them in camera because they're proprietary projects. And so Council has looked at those. We've sent staff back just to make sure that they're financially viable, number one, and financially sustainable. So that's what process we're in right now. So we'll be hearing back on those very shortly as we go through those final due diligence processes and make sure we don't want to end up with a partially completed project or a project that everybody's excited about and doesn't happen. So we're doing our diligence to make sure that we don't get into something that we shouldn't be getting into.
Absolutely. I understand it's actually on the in-camera agenda on Wednesday this week.
Yeah, there will be a presentation on that. We sent it back the last council meeting, and so they're coming back with those reports. And I don't know what's in the reports, so once we know what's in the reports, we'll be able to comment further.
So suffice it to say that progress is being made behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's taking a long time, but you want to take time because you don't want to get into a project that you don't want to get into. So we're being very cautious at this point. I might just add to that we're now going through a process. We're going to be looking at going back to the business community and developers and say, here's what we'd like to see in these particular areas, aside from those projects that have been brought forward. And then going for RFPs on that as well. We'll be going back to the public with those concepts shortly. I would expect sometime mid-October, November.
And imagine it's probably taken a little bit longer than you'd hoped initially.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's disappointing, but it's disappointing. Not really disappointing, but I'd hope that we would be able to move this forward a bit faster. The nature of the projects that have been brought forward, particularly one of them, is extraordinary. So it really is something that we have to consider very seriously if that's a direction we want the city to go in. Before we even bring it to the community to say, if you want to go in this direction, I think we have to make sure that it's something that financially is sustainable. So I'm hoping that we're going to get some further activity going there. We're looking at grant opportunities to help us maybe push some of those developments.
Very good. Okay, moving on, there's a question here about cleaning the trails of ice and snow in the winter on Merritt Island and from Woodlawn South to Merritt Island Park, as well as on the sidewalk on Woodlawn between the Merritt Island Trail west towards the first Seaway Mall entrance. And just wondered if that could be in the cards.
As you know, I go on my Monday walk. I haven't seen there for a while, Alan, but we go on the Monday walk, and certainly, a lot of people do use that path in the winter. I think it boils down to a budget item. It's quite long, and we'd have to look at what the cost would be to do that. Maybe something that can come up in our budget discussions. It would be good if we could clean it. It's also usable if we can't, but it would certainly be better if we could have it plowed a bit. So that's something we'll look into. No, there's no plan set right now, but maybe in the budget we can look at that.
Very good. Okay, A reader is concerned about traffic at the corner of Riverside and Windsor Street, especially trucks flying through the area. Is that an area of concern for the city?
Well, it is for me. I think there was an accident out there not long ago, and I understand today that there was an accident at the end of the Riverside there and Lincoln Street or Weber Road. So. Yeah, it's turning into kind of a thoroughfare, that street, and we want to make sure that it's not, posing any danger. It's currently a regional road, so it's something I'm going to be bringing up with the region, but also talking to our staff about. Maybe a matter of enforcement. Number one, that's usually our first. Get the police out there and make sure that they're enforcing the speed limits. Secondly, maybe reducing the speed limits in certain sections of it to ensure that it's not being used as a highway as opposed to a more road.
Mm-hmm. Very good. It's probably one of several streets I can think of where you're facing similar problems.
Yeah, and it's an ongoing thing. You really have to monitor and see what's going on in those roads, and do you put up a stop sign? Do you put up speed bumps? Well, how do you deal with it? In this particular case, I think that we need to make sure that we're controlling the truck traffic and make sure that the right types of trucks are there and that they're following the rules. Of course, it's up to everybody to make sure that they're following the rules of the road. Stop at stop signs, etc.
Absolutely. Right. Okay, and the final question I've received is regarding Niagara College off-campus housing, which has been an ongoing issue in the city for a very long time. Certainly we've put bylaws in place, but this question is specific to enforcing those bylaws. When are bylaws going to be enforced about parking on lawns and garbage in front of homes and the rat population? So.
Okay, well, there's three issues there. The parking on lawns, I've got a couple of calls last week, and we sent bylaws out, and they started ticketing people. Typically, we enforce the parking bylaws based on a complaint basis, as opposed to us driving around looking for issues. And the reason for that is that we don't want to put anybody out because they've parked overhanging something or whatever the case might be. Because once we get out into a neighborhood, we will then enforce the parking bylaws on everybody. So. So we need to make sure that we're identifying a serious issue. So certainly, if whoever the person that sent that in, simply call my office, and we'll have bylaws go out there and take care of it. So we're enforcing them currently. We just have to make sure we know about them. As far as garbage goes, same deal. But I think we can step that up a bit, and I think it happens more specifically at different types or times of year. So again, probably want to work with the region a bit more on that and ensure that. We're on top of that one, because we do have garbage crews going around, so they should be able to notify back to the region and saying, hey, you've got a problem over here. And the last one was the rats. Rats are rodents that nobody really likes. And, I think, we don't have bylaws as far as rats go.
No.
We have bylaws around maintaining your property so that it doesn't attract or maintain rats. And so those would be the bylaws we would be interested in dealing with. Someone has a problem with rats next door, and I've had people call me with these problems, and we do address them. So we need to make sure you don't have compost piles and wood piles, things that attract rats. And we'll go in, and if it's something that they shouldn't be doing, we'll certainly go in and try to get the people to clean those up. But I can tell you, rats are a big problem throughout the entire region.
How about bats? They're kind of bad too this year, I understand.
Yeah, and bats, I think, are we've always had lots of bats, but it's the issue of rabies.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
Again, people have to be careful with that and certainly report any odd behavior of any type of animal. Raccoons, bats are sort of the breeding ground for rabies, and the Conservation Authority and other levels of government are trying to bait and make sure that they're taking care of that. But again, it's difficult when you have a lot of wild animals around, so I think it's to be cautious.
Absolutely. And this week's council meeting is being held on Wednesday night as opposed to Tuesday?
Yeah, so that's we're having our council meeting on Wednesday night. We are going to be going down to Toronto to meet with some developers. The Seaway Mall organizes an event there where they bring in developers and other people from across Canada, probably from around the world, so it's an opportunity for us to go and pitch the city. It's a great place where they all kind of gather in one spot, so it's
So this
great place for us to
meeting
do
that
that.
is taking place on Tuesday.
That's right,
which
Tuesday.
Makes, yeah.
So we switched the council meeting over to Wednesday. So anybody that's looking for us, we're Wednesday instead of Tuesday.
And it sounds like there's, this could be good news for us as far as attending this meeting.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it certainly helps the mall and brings retailers, but it gives us a chance to talk to retailers, but also developers. And the more people you know, the broader your network, the more opportunity you have. And we found that very successful through a lot of different things that we're doing on the government side as well as the private sector.
Very good. All right. Well, thank you very much for being with us this afternoon, and we look forward to seeing you again on Wednesday.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks very much, Alan.
Thanks. This is Alan Benner from the Tribune signing off. We'll be here again at some future date with our mayor from Welland discussing future issues. Thank